Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over a series of video presentations I am creating for the Rankin Technical College AWD Application and Web Development 1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class. I'm smack dab in the middle of Chapter 4 of our text, ASP.NET MVC with Entity Framework and CSS by Naylor. If it sounds a little different, I have recently moved into a house, and for the first time I am taping in my home because it is Memorial Day and I don't feel like going into work on Memorial Day. So, I found out that I made a mistake here. I had this line, which was correct, except I kept the old line for the old baby store. So I removed the original line that was there. It looked just like this one, except here it said catalog equal baby store, where I had the other one down underneath it. Then I went back, and as we were told to do in the textbook on page 61, so let me go back to that. I went back and on the bottom of the page, so I did this, and I removed the earlier one. Then I enabled the code first migrations with enable minus migration space minus context types name space minus bs2.dal.store context. I ran it. It came out looking basically just like this. I first went in because I did have, I should mention this, I did have a migrations folder. So I removed the one that I had. Ran it again. It created a new migrations folder with a new configuration.cs file in it. Then I did the add minus migration initial database, which, and I didn't have this before, created these two things right here. I did not have those before, and I think it's again because I made the mistake of leaving both of those in there. So then I jumped down and I looked at, and it said the next thing we were supposed to do was to seed the database. So I added these two files, those two using statements, and I didn't have that one either. And right now I'm in the middle of fixing this up on pages 64 and 65 so that I have my seed data. All right. So just to show you, whoops, I am right here, and as you can see, this is what I've fixed up thus far. All right, so really basically for every one of these, I'm just making sure that it looks, you know, where I'm getting these error messages is because I'm running things over, I'm running strings over more than one line, which is not a legal thing to do. So like I said, I'm just going back and I'm fixing all this. You can see what's left. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause, and when I get this all finished, I'll be back again. All right, just a couple minutes. All right, so, whoops. Yeah, I'm taping again. As you can see, I've prettied this up, and as far as I can tell, there are no errors in it anymore, so I have entered the seed data. Now, the author starts by saying, take a look at what this does first. It creates a list of category and product objects, all right? And then after that, it saves them to the database, all right? We create a variable named categories, and as you can see, we've got a list of categories. Now, previously, we had three categories. We had clothes, we had toys, and we had feeding. Now we've got clothes, play and toys, feeding, medicine, travel, and sleeping. All right, this line of code that you see right here, that line will add or update a category if there's not one with the same name already in the database. We're making the assumption here that the category name is unique. the final piece of code, the line underneath this, right there, is called to save the changes to the database. Now the author says we actually call this twice, here and down here. And it would only be necessary to actually call it down at the bottom. But what this does is if there is an error when you are trying to put in your categories and your products, it'll make it easier to debug the way that they're saying it or showing it here. It says now we are ready to create the new database with test data from the seed method. In the package manager, we are supposed to come in. Let's save everything. All right, go back to our package manager. Which I believe is kind of hiding down here. There we go. There's our package manager, and we're supposed to type in update minus database. And it says if this works correctly, you should be informed that the migrations have been applied and that the seed method has run. Well, running seed method. There we go. So a new database named babystore2.mdf should now have been created in our app data folder. And if we look in app data, there's babystore2. Now, if we double click on it, it's going to bring it up over here. And if we look now, here it's showing us our categories, and here it's showing us our products. We've looked at those before, so let's close each of those. We can also close the web config. Let's leave this configuration file open for a minute, and let's look at showing our table data. These are our categories, so notice now we've got the extra categories: clothes, play and toys, feeding, medicine, travel, sleeping. So we now have 6 categories. And if we go over and look at our product data, and we show the table data, now you'll notice that we have, I don't know how many rows. Looks like 17. So this is all of that data that we just put in. All right. So the new database was created in the app data folder. When the update minus database command ran, the up method of the migrations configuration CS file was called to create the tables. I already showed you the tables, and they show you that in the text. I ran that, and I showed you this. There's the 17 records, same thing that we had. All right, the author says, start the website without debugging, and you will now see the new categories. Sounds good to me. Again, let's save all. Let's do a build solution, even though I don't think we have to. All right, and then let's run. Now, it's bringing it up from our home page, so I'm going to move over to the categories page, and we should see, once we go to the categories, okay, let's see, shop by category. There's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories. All right, and if we come in here and change from categories to products, we should see our 17 products that we have in there. And there they are. So this is looking great. All right. That gets us up to the bottom of page 69 in our text. And the author says here on the bottom of page 69, so I showed you that. It was on page 67 and 68. All right. So adding data validation and formatting constraints to model classes. All right. Oh, we've got maybe, I don't know, about 10 pages left in the chapter approximately. So the author says, at the moment, the data in the site is not validated on entry or displayed in the relevant formats, such as a currency format. So the author says if we wanted to, we could come in here and we could create a brand new category, for example. All right? And we could create a brand new category that was called, that was a number instead of letters. All right? And the author says you can do that, and we could, but I don't really see a need to do that, to be honest with you. That's what the author says right there. It says a user can also enter a completely blank category name, but that will cause the application to throw an error when you render the category index.cs HTML page. All right. So in Chapter 2, the author showed how to use the metadata type class to add data annotations to an existing class rather than directly adding them to the class itself. Throughout the rest of this book, we are going to revert to modifying the data itself for the sake of simplicity. Okay. So we are going to add some validation here, such as the name field cannot be blank for a category. The name field should accept only letters. The name field must be between 3 and 50 characters in length. In order to do this, we have to modify the model's category cs.cs file. Let's close this. Let's close this. Let's close up a couple of these things that we've got open here. It looks good. So let's go to models, category.cs. And we want to come in here and under our ID, we want the category name field. All right. We've got that display, which is fine, but we're going to put a couple of other things in here as well. First is, that's a required field. All right, so that's the first thing. Second, string length 50, which means that's the maximum, and the minimum length equals 3. Remember what we said before, what we were putting in there for our requirements. Required and between 3 and 50, well, what is that? That's the required, and that's the between 3 and 50. So the one that's left is the name field accepting letters only. There's different ways of doing this, but the way that we're going to do it is by using a regular expression right here, which is probably the easiest and probably the best way to do it. Oops, I don't want to do that. So it's going to be a regular expression, and we're going to put in here an @ double quote. What the heck I just did there? Okay. Okay, @ double quote. This means starts with A through Z plus A through Z, A through Z, think we're going to allow for a blank space. Minus. There we go. Right, it looks like I'm missing something. So, parenthesis, @, double quote, caret, A-Z, in brackets, plus A-Z, quote, minus quote, backslash S, asterisk, $, double quote, that's it, right there. So the required attribute means that the field is required. In other words, it can't be null or empty. The string length says that it must be between 3 and 50 characters. And the final one, the one that I was having a hard time typing in right here in blue, uses a regular expression, says the field can contain only letters and spaces, must start with an uppercase letter. So the first character must be uppercase, followed by one or more letters and spaces. All right. And that's, again, for the category name. Right. Like that. Perfect. All right. So the author says, start the site without debugging. Well, again, I'm just going to save all and run. And click on the shop by category. So we're going to want to come over here when this comes up. And the author says, don't be surprised if you get an error. Okay, there it is. The author says that this particular issue is caused because the category class now has the changes in it that need to be applied to the database. 2 of the 3 attributes we added need to be applied to the database to change the rules for the name column. This will ensure that the column cannot be null. In other words, right now, the code is okay, but it hasn't been synced up, so the same changes are taking place in the database. In order to fix this issue, the author says, first let's stop the run. All right, and the author says, go back to the Package Manager console right here and add a new migration by running in here, add minus migration space category name validation. A new migration file should be created containing the updated code. Notice category name validation. To apply these changes to the database, we've got to go back one more time to the package manager and type in update minus database. Hit enter. Now, what we should notice is if we come over here and we come back to the categories table, all right, and we open the table definition, that now the name does not allow nulls and it's of size 50. And what they ask us to do then, and I can close this, I can close this, I can close this, and I can close this, is to save, run it one more time, go over to the categories create once this comes up. And again, come over here, categories create. All right. It'll take just a minute to load. There it is. And now if we try to add a blank category, which before worked, now it says it's required. If we come in here and type in close 2, it's got a number in it. See, we get the error. So the message that's displayed right there is not exactly user-friendly. So if we want to add some more friendly error messages, we can go back and we can do so. What does that mean? Well, let's remove this. Remember, if we do this, the category name is required. That's not terrible, but we can change that as well. So let's go back. Let's stop the run here. Stop the run here. Let's go back and bring up again under our models. Let's bring up the category.cs that we just brought up right here. And here, after required, we will add here, oops, error message equal the category name cannot be blank. All right, so now we've added a easier to read, understand, comprehend, etc. error message. All right, here we've got this, and after that 3, I'm going to put in a comma. I'm going to try to put this on a different line. This should work. Error message equal, please enter a category name between 3 and 50 characters in length. All right. And then finally, after our regular expression here, let's again, comma, enter, error message equal, please enter a category name beginning with a capital letter and made up of letters and spaces only. All right. And the author says, since it's a string, make sure you enter it all in one line. Okay, so let's save. Let's run this again. Go back to our categories create as soon as this comes up. Now notice if we come in and leave it blank, now the message is the category name cannot be blank. That's the one we just put in. And if I put in close 2, notice please enter a category name beginning with a capital letter, etc. And if I make something that's less Now it says please enter a category name between 3 and 50. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. See, and now I get the same message. All right. So the next thing that we are asked to do is to make some similar changes to the products. Let me check my time, please. All right, I'm at 25 minutes, so I am going to do the rest of the chapter. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 or 8 pages left, but I'm going to stop right now. All right, and start back up again in just a moment.